Chapter 20. I wake up without nightmares. It's strange knowing I slept yet had no dreams. I can't tell if I like it or not. It's very early still, and there's a slight chill. I listen and hear nothing. Peaceful. I don't want to move for fear of disturbing the quiet. The delicate breeze ruins the perfect moment by wafting the odor coming from my wretched clothes to my nose. The turquoise dress that made me feel so beautiful is now a reminder of the pit Impetus threw me in. I need to get clean. I sit and stretch my arms to the sky. Pain shoots through my limbs, but the stretch is worth it. My muscles are stronger when lengthened and flexed, reminiscent of the strength it took to climb the cliff time and again in my dreams. The growling of my stomach interrupts my thoughts to remind me how little I've eaten over the past several days. So, this is hunger. Hunger was one of the most significant epidemics during the wars of the before. Impetus taught that lesson to control us. I see that now. We never had to worry about hunger in Impetus. We were always on a schedule to eat, and it was simply part of what we did each day, similar to taking our remedy pills. A food schedule isn't necessary here in Rebirth. You eat when you feel you need it. What a concept. I attempt to push myself off the cot when I hear a voice ask, "Do you need any help today?" The rising sun generates a light that turns Liam into an angelic being. It is just like my dream, but now I can see those gorgeous eyes of his. "Yes, please." I cheerfully accept his offer. Liam holds out his hands. I grab both and almost as quickly drop them when electricity ripples through my body. My arms light up with goosebumps, and I feel a warmth so deep that it alone makes me feel like I can stand on my own and run around the entire forest several times. Our eyes connect, and he smiles at me, and I wonder if he feels any of this too. Maybe it's not even that special. Maybe it's just human touch and what happens when you feel. But those goosebumps have been consistent with Liam ever since I met him. As he pulls me up from the cot, his arm muscles protrude into strong, round curves, half covered by his gray crew tee, which highlights them even more. I feel a strong desire to touch his muscles and skin with my fingers, and also my lips. Get it together, Evangeline, I chastise myself. I'm becoming more aware of how dangerous these emotions can be. Impetus had that right. Logic is profoundly affected by feelings. I shouldn't have any intense emotions toward Liam, but they're naturally occurring. Just like my jealousy for Marlena. I've had the strangest reactions and thoughts ever since Remedy worked its way out of my system. I need to be discerning of them to stay in control. I point to the bag next to my cot. "Can you hand that to me, please?" Liam lets go of one hand and stretches his body to reach for the bag so he doesn't let go of my other hand. My mind enters a void while I watch his muscles in awe as they flex with every move he makes. He successfully grabs the bag that Marlena gave me and asks, "What would you like with it?" I refocus and use my free hand to open the top of the bag while Liam holds the base. I sift through it, and when I see the bath soap, I exhale and say, "That's what I want. I'm in dire need of a bath." Liam's eyes widen, and he quickly looks around. "Let me find Gavin or Marlena." "I hate burdening them all the time. Will you help me get to the bathing area? I can handle it from there."
"Gavin would not be happy if he heard I left you at the pond by yourself. You're still healing."
I set my chin high. I will not sit here and wait for Gavin to get back. He's not the one who decides how things are done with me. I'm my own person and can call the shots on what I need. Please just help me get to the pond." Liam jerks his head back in surprise. I'm beginning to wonder if Gavin is more than just a community member from the way people treat him. Liam looks around once more and shrugs in defeat.
"Okay, I'll take you. Let me grab food for us first. You will need the energy.
He opens the box at the edge of my cot and pulls out bananas, apples, and slices of bread. Wrapping them in a towel and knotting it, he grabs the backpack again and positions himself next to me like a crutch.
Let's go.
We have to stop often so I can catch my breath. Sometimes I'm scared to breathe too much, as though I'll trigger a fatal response on my remedy monitor. Even though it no longer holds my wrist as a prisoner, it's challenging to break 18 years of a concept drilled in me. I will have to build confidence I can survive without it. It's not air, not food, not water. Remedy is not a necessity, even though the thought of it still spurs a desperate desire to take a pill. My body still tells me I need it. My mind is gaining the strength to shut down the lies. Walking through the center of rebirth, I'm amazed by its tranquility. Everyone must be sleeping or hunting like Gavin. There are bodies wrapped in blankets dispersed on the ground, and huts with cloth canvases for doors that flap in the wind. Finally, I see the enclosure of trees for the bathing area. We walk to the side of the bathroom building, where Liam points to an open entryway under the threshold of 2 trees. He puts one hand above my head as we duck so the branches don't scratch us. When we enter, my mouth drops open. What is this place? I glide my hand across bright green leaves larger than my torso that protect the bathing area. Blue and red berries extend from the leaves on tiny limbs as though little caterers offering a snack for a luxurious experience. Steam rises from the pond in the middle, giving it a cloud-like appearance. Vibrant flowers and plants decorate the edges, making it look more like a bakery cake than a body of water. How did you find this? It doesn't even look real. I mean, it's not, right? I'll get in and some supposedly extinct beast from the before will snatch me and drown me.
Not everything is an illusion, Evangeline.
Oh, how I hope those words are true. My faith has been tested, and he knows that. He understands. Liam continues on.
Gavin found the hot spring. It's why he set up camp out here for now. We're all hoping it will be a long-term stay with this find. I had the unfortunate experience of finding out what a cold bath is like. Trust me, you don't want that. This is heaven on earth.
I follow Liam to the far right side, where a gentle slope the size of a 2-person walkway enters the shallow end of the pond. He removes my arm from around his neck and reaches into the backpack for a towel. He holds it up and looks away.
Go ahead and take off your clothes and toss them to the side. I'm assuming we can burn them?
Mortified by the truth, there isn't any hiding of my circumstance. Yes, for sure, I confirm, eager to never see that dress again. Slowly, I unzip the hoodie and pull it down over my arms while grunting in pain. I slide the dress straps down my shoulders and push the garment over my torso and legs, but lose my balance, so reach out for Liam's arm. I feel bumps on his arm, the same ones I get when he's around. My lips spread into a smile, and I look at him, but his head is turned in the opposite direction with his eyes shut. Despite comfortable temperatures, his face is flushed, and the top of his ears are red. I manage to pull off my undergarments, wrapping them in the dress to hide any more embarrassing reminders of how sick I've been. Then I remember the documents I copied. I search through the clothes again. They aren't here. I wonder if they fell out when Impetus captured me. When I don't find them, I wad everything in the hoodie again and throw it to the side. I guess it doesn't matter anymore. If the papers fell out, I can only hope someone who could expose Impetus for their lies and their horrible condemnation of human life discovered them.
Are you okay?
Liam asks as he folds up the towel, keeping his back to me while I'm naked. Yeah, I just lost something. But it's fine, I quickly add, so he won't inquire more. Liam is the one person who shouldn't see those documents, since they confirmed the Elders Board's approval of the termination of his pairing and baby. I recall how badly I needed to talk to Gavin the day I found them, But Impetus kept me from him. If Gavin saved Liam and me, maybe he could have saved them too. I wonder if Liam knows they were ruthlessly killed, and that the truth was covered by medical necessity. I wade cautiously into the water, still apprehensive about creatures lurking at the bottom. But by the time the steam warms every inch of my body from my toes to the top of my head, I'm convinced I'll never leave. This is what Gavin meant by good feelings too. I can't fathom anything that could be better than this. This feels wonderful. You should get in too, Liam. Liam doesn't respond, and instead walks to the other side of the pond and sits on a log, still refusing to face me. I splash around in the water, thinking of the children that would get their daily baths at the home. Those poor children. They have no clue how fantastic water actually feels, how great it is to be clean. Liam, do you ever miss Impetus? He shifts his body to straddle the log while avoiding looking at me, even though the steamy water makes it impossible to see anything other than my head. Sometimes. I think what I miss the most is not knowing everything I know now, if that makes sense. What do you mean? Life was defined. It was easy. Every day I woke up, I knew what I needed to do. Nowadays, I feel, you know? I feel so much all the time. I'm constantly overwhelmed. Before all of this, I just had thoughts. Plain black and white thoughts. Now all my thoughts are tied to emotions, and although they're supposed to work together, most of the time they're in a constant battle. It's very confusing. Yeah, I can understand a little, but Liam has had a few more weeks of experience to process the transition. Regardless, the differences between a life lived in Impetus and one lived in rebirth are obvious. What was your role while in Impetus? I completed the census remedy logs. I've always been good with numbers. I'd analyze daily reports to check each person in Impetus was accounted for, and that each one's monitors weren't reporting suspicious levels. I stop splashing and plant my feet on the bottom of the pond, the water barely reaching my neck. My toes squeeze the mud underneath. Did you know who I was before you met me? Were you monitoring my remedy levels? Liam turns his head and quickly averts his gaze to the trees. No. I knew you as a name and a monitor number, not a person. I put your face to your name when I first saw you at the clinic. My mind replays that day like it is a movie unfolding on top of the cloudy vapors. Him walking through the door with his hair wet. The first time I saw those eyes. The way my skin filled with goosebumps when I touched his wrist. Never would I have imagined this is where we would end up. We haven't talked about how you got here. Will you share with me now? If you think you're ready. I recline on my back in the water, floating with my eyes closed. I really want to hear it if you're comfortable sharing. I know how confusing this conversion can be. I'm willing to answer anything I can. Liam leans back on the log before launching into his own personal story. After 4 years of experimental versions of the insemination process required every week during September for paired matches until they become pregnant, Angela and Liam were finally successful with their first child. However, several months into the pregnancy, she fell ill. She quickly lost weight instead of gaining it, and was sicker than they expected. Despite these side effects, Dr. Bourdin reassured them this was still normal and could occur to a small portion of the population. Liam was called into the clinic for Angela's 8-month checkup. It was unusual for the pairing to attend any of the visits. Dr. Bourdin once again claimed everything was fine. They just needed Liam to participate in additional testing. That's when I first met you, he added, pausing, tilting his head more in my direction with his eyes focused on the sky. I remember sitting down in a chair in the patient ward,
watching Dr. Bourdin type away on his tablet. A nurse placed straps on my wrists and ankles, which should have been my first warning sign. But all we know is how to trust Impetus, right? I foolishly thought nothing about it. My next memory after that is waking up in that torture chamber, covered in blood from a gash on my head. Gavin claims I fought them before they threw me in. If I did, I don't remember it at all. I had a broken thumb and rib, so hopefully I did some damage to the person who threw me in that hellhole.
The visual of a fight in such a manner sends shudders through my body. I stand back on my feet. The warm water suddenly feels chilly. Why would they punish you? You didn't do anything. Liam's back heaves before he takes a deep breath to calm down.
No, apparently it wasn't punishment, although it definitely felt that way. According to Gavin, Impetus had plans to add me to their military. I was being conditioned.
You mean the lighthouse guard? Liam shakes his head.
Nope, the Impetus military.
He forces out a bitter laugh.
I know it sounds strange, but it makes sense. You can't tell me those thickets would keep us protected if anything happened.
I'm shocked the rumors were right about a full military I didn't know existed in a community I lived in for my entire life. Impetus kept so much from us. Is that why those creepy steel buildings exist?
Yep. They go several layers deep with bunkers and weapons. Those digging grounds aren't where the old warehouses from the before exist. The digs are just another lie to keep us under control. Impetus converted the damaged warehouse into the steel shed. The military unit is a work in progress. They're calling them extensions of the Lightstone's Guard for cover. Lucky for me, I was one of 5 recruits so far.
Recruit? The one Dr. Bourdin was talking about must have been Liam. It's difficult to wrap my mind around any of this. It doesn't seem real. Like all these stories, it can't be the place we used to call home.
I know. I'm not sure it will ever sink in. It goes much deeper even, Evangeline.
Liam's voice trails off. He clears his throat and runs his hand through his thick hair and down his face.
I'm still discovering new things every day. Reality as we knew it isn't true. I keep clinging to this hope that maybe there were more real parts than lies, and I'm not sure. Every day I'm here, that hope falters more.
Like what, Liam? I am desperate to know it all. I don't want to be oblivious anymore. I'm done with being naive. What have you found out? Liam's head drops in his hands.
Gavin suggested we shouldn't reveal too much at once. I have to obey that. You're still healing. You need time. Too much at once isn't good for you. It's not good for anyone.
Frustration. This emotion has been easy to define because it arises each time Liam brings up Gavin. It's like Gavin has been designated to be my keeper. No one can say or do anything to me unless it receives his stamp of approval. I can handle myself, I declare. I appreciate Gavin, but I'm stronger than he thinks I am.
I know you're strong.
Liam nods, his voice inflection filled with admiration.
But I have to respect Gavin. You can talk to him about it all when he returns.
I sigh. Gavin wins again.
But I can still share my story. If you'd like to hear the rest, that is.
I wade closer to Liam's seat on the log to encourage him. I want to hear everything you want to share. After being thrown in the box chamber, Gavin set Liam free. During their escape, Liam broke away from Gavin and riskily darted to the clinic to save his pairing and baby, unknowing of what had been ordered for them.
Everyone was at that damn ceremony,
he growls, chipping away at the log with his fingernail. The futures ceremony. While I was being paired, Gavin was helping Liam escape. Gavin was in Impetus when I needed him the most, when I was battling to get to him.
I just walked right into the patient ward of the clinic. No one was around. Not one nurse, no carekeepers. They had no one staffing the building despite patients remaining inside. I marched to the room Angela was supposed to be in. The one I saw her in the day they ran tests on me. And the bed was empty. But there was a giant horizontal canister next to the bed. I just knew. His voice cracks. I shouldn't have, but the curiosity was too great. I opened the canister and inside was her body. She was so white. I freeze, listening intently to his story. I've never seen a dead body before. The horror of the moment, an image that never fades once it's cemented in your mind. And next to her was the tiniest bundle, barely the length of my wrist to my fingertips, wrapped in a blanket with spots of blood seeping through. I knew that was my baby. Everything in me knew it. My shaking hands unwrapped the blanket, and inside was this beautiful baby boy. Liam violently sobs. His shoulders lift up and down as his hands swipe at his face. They killed him, Evangeline. They didn't even care. They just killed him. My body is out of the water before I have a second to care that I'm naked. I bend by the log and wrap my arms around Liam's waist. My head presses into his back to provide any amount of heated comfort I can transfer to him. Why did they do it? It was a rhetorical question, muttered from being lost in my own thoughts, trying to sort through these heartbreaking revelations of people and a place we once trusted. I didn't expect Liam to know the answer. Because he wouldn't have survived in Impetus. Liam angrily shakes his head. Something was wrong with his eyes, so he would have been born blind. Without feeling, there would have been no way for him to get around. They chose their damn remedy lies over keeping him alive. He didn't have to be on remedy. He could have lived, learned how to be guided through this world by feeling. That's why we have 5 senses. We are born equipped to handle defects. But Impetus couldn't let their lies die. They chose my son to die instead.
Any contained composure from Liam is long gone. I remain quiet, holding on to him, letting him grieve however he needs to. I thought I had been through a lot, but nothing compares to what Liam experienced. Once he continues talking again, he tells me how Gavin had burst into the room in search of Liam and saw him holding the baby in his arms. Gavin dragged Liam out of the clinic, allowing him to bring the baby's body with them. Once in a safe spot outside of Impetus and closer to rebirth, they stopped running long enough for Liam to say goodbye to his son. Gavin dug the grave while I sat on the ground and cuddled my baby. You should have seen him. He had these unbelievable crystal blue eyes. I closed his lids so he wouldn't have to look at this forsaken world any longer. I named him Jack. At least Jack got a proper burial, compared to whatever those monsters in Impetus would do to him. Liam's head droops further. His hands cover his face so I can barely make out the words when he cries. You should have seen him. He was absolutely beautiful. Gavin had later educated Liam that since his pairing had conceived at such a later age than most in the community, Remedy had become more harmful with an infection she suffered. Dr. Bourdin knew by the 8-month appointment that the baby had contracted the same infection, which had caused the blindness. Since Angela could no longer be counted on to give birth without passing on continuous infections, the board decided to terminate them both. However, with Liam's height and body type, they spared him to transition him into a soldier, which clearly backfired. The worst part is I buried my baby son while feeling. I know what you think you are going through now is hard, Evangeline. But wait until you learn what love is and have to say goodbye to somebody that is a genuine part of who you are. I hope you never have to experience that. But I can tell you, there are feelings far worse than withdrawal. He sniffs and says, To be fair,
There are also emotions far better. Like when you are staring into your own son's eyes, holding him and feeling that unique love for the very first time. The guilt is excruciating. I recall my outburst to him days earlier and how I had shouted that I didn't kill his baby. I can't imagine how I made him feel, and the images that surfaced again. As though he reads my mind, his back contracts under my grip and he asks, "You didn't know, did you?" Horrified, I quickly respond, "Did I know they would do that to them? No. Even if I couldn't feel at the time, I know the difference between right and wrong. You don't have to carry emotions to know what they did was plain evil." I don't tell him about the confidential letter I found. I tried to save them when I read that. I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do. I tried to get to Gavin, but I couldn't. I kept getting blocked. He wouldn't understand that. Not right now. "I'm so sorry, Liam." Liam interrupts me. "It's the past, Evangeline. There's nothing I can do about it except make sure the future is nothing like that. And trust me, I will do whatever it takes."